Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin ashrafil mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Wa ba'd. Fa ayyuhal ahibba tahiyyatun min fuadin ملؤها الود والاحترام أحملها إلى كل من شرف جلستنا هذه فسلام الله عليكم ورحمته وبركاته. Allow me to begin with the following pearl of wisdom from Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah. All humans are dead except those who have knowledge, and all those who have knowledge are asleep, except those who do good deeds. And those who do good deeds are deceived, except those who are sincere. And those who are sincere are always in a state of worry. Yang berbahagia Associate Professor Dr. Abdul Rahman Cheek, the President of the International Islamic Literature League Malaysia. Yang berbahagia Profesor Datuk Seri Dr. Muhammad Salleh YAAPAR, our invited guest speaker. Dear respected scholars, academics, students, enthusiasts, lovers and seekers of knowledge, on behalf of the organizing committee, the International Islamic Literature League Malaysia, or Rabitah Al-Adab Al-Islami, I would like to wish you a warm welcome to our talk series number 3 for the year 2023. I would like to record our utmost appreciation and gratitude to the Akademi Profesor Malaysia and the Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman Kuliah of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Human Sciences IIUM for agreeing to co-host this auspicious event. The International Islamic Literature League organizes talks such as this one tonight in Arabic, English, and Malay on every last Friday night of the month. However, due to the holy month of Ramadan, which will begin, inshallah, on the 23rd March, the talk in March was brought forward to today. For your information, this event is streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. Ladies and gentlemen, our speaker for tonight is Professor Datuk Seri Dr. Muhammad Salleh YAAPAR, who is one of Malaysia's most prominent scholar and literary figure. Assalamualaikum, Datuk Seri.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Datuk Seri, for accepting our invitation to share some of the pearls and jewels from your corpus of knowledge and expertise in the field of literature, history, and others. We are extremely grateful, Datuk Seri. Before I invite our honorable speaker to deliver his talk, allow me to introduce you to him. Professor Datuk Seri Dr. Muhammad Salleh YAAPAR obtained his bachelor degree with honors from University of Malaya, his first master's from University of the Philippines, and his second master's from Temple University, USA, and his PhD with distinction from Temple University. Professor Muhammad Salleh YAAPAR is currently a professor of comparative literature at University Science Malaysia, a member of the International Advisory Council of ISTAD, International Islamic University Malaysia IUM, Chairman of Religion, Philosophy and Civilization Cluster, Akademi Profesor Malaysia, Visiting Professor, Prince of Songkla University, Thailand, and member the Board of Trustee Yayasan Karyawan Malaysia. He was formerly the chairman of Dewan Bahasa dan Pustaka Malaysia, incumbent of European Chair of Malay Studies, Leiden University, Netherlands, Distinguished Fellow ISTAD IIM, as well as Adjunct Professor Akademi Seni Budaya dan Warisan Kebangsaan Aswara, Kuala Lumpur. Earlier on, he was the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research and Development, Deputy Vice Chancellor Student Affairs, Ombudsman, Dean of Humanities, Director of USM Press, as well as Coordinator of Center for Policy Research and International Studies, all at the University Science Malaysia. Professor Muhammad Saleh YAAPAR is the first recipient of the Anugerah Tokoh Akademik Bahasa Melayu Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia, as well as the first recipient of the Chancellor Award University Science Malaysia. He is also a recipient of Anugerah Perdana Yayasan Buku Negara, Anugerah Pembimbing Budaya Ministry of Education Malaysia, and Anugerah Tokoh Persuratan Nusantara Melayu Raya Numaira. Professor Muhammad Saleh YAAPAR has published numerous articles in index journals. His books and monographs include Poetry and Mysticism, 1995, Cultural Encounter and Religious Engagement in Nurturing World Peace, Lessons from Selected Literary Works and Authors, 2007, Pilgrimage to the Orient, 2009, and Melayu Mahawangsa, their contributions to socio-cultural developments in China, Madagascar, and South Africa, 2022. Our speaker will deliver his talk for around 45 minutes, Dato' Sri.
Ya, boleh. Yeah. InsyaAllah. Thank you very much.
And then you may, and the participants may write your questions in the chat box in Zoom and also YouTube. And we will address your questions after the talk. We plan to conclude by 10:30 p.m. inshallah. Okay, without further ado, let me share Dato' Sri's slides. Okay, we can see your slides now, Dato' Sri.
Ya, insyaAllah. Thank you very much.
The floor is yours, Dato' Sri.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prof. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Prof, boleh dengar ke?
Boleh, boleh.
Okay. Yang berbahagia Associate Professor Dr. Abdul Rahman Cik, President of the International League of Islamic Literature. Yang berbahagia Prof. Dr. RAHMAH binti AHMAD, Haji Osman, our moderator for tonight, and the person responsible for inviting me. Thank you very much, Prof.
Sama-sama, Dato' Sri.
Committee members of the International League of Islamic Literature, dear participants, brothers and sisters, first of all, allow me to take this opportunity to thank Prof. Rahmah and her friends, of course, within the committee, members of the league, as well as the Board of Governors of the International ISTAC, yeah, and also my own organization, which is Akademi Profesor Malaysia, for allowing me to take part in this series of talk, and also for the permission given to me to cooperate with your organization from RAHMAH. I am really honored with the invitation and also the opportunity to speak to our, I'm sure, distinguished guests who are around with us tonight. I hope this cooperation will continue even after this speech, inshallah.
Sure.
All right, now to go to the speech, the lecture, as revealed by Prof. RAHMAH just now. Can you go up a little bit, Prof. RAHMAH? The title of the talk or lecture is Hayy Ibn Yaqzan by Ibn Tufayl, Jewel of Andalusian Thought and Literature. Hopefully I will be able to convey my message and my own thought with regard to this very significant work of the Islamic tradition, literary tradition. And Prof. RAHMAH will help me share the PowerPoint, inshallah. So we'll move from one slide to another. This is the introduction. Sorry, this is the content slide. I will have the introduction and talk a little bit about Andalusia, Ibn Tufayl, then go into Hayy Ibn Yaqzan, concentrating on its character as an amazing utopia of the individual, reception in Europe, impact on thought and literature, and a little bit about Hayy Ibn Yaqzan in the Malay world, and then I will conclude, inshallah. All right, I will start now. Just to remind us about our Western heritage, Andalusia, Al-Andalus in Arabic, of course. Prof. RAHMAH knows better than me about Al-Andalus. And I will be speaking about thinkers coming from Al-Andalus with concentration on the author of Hayy Ibn Yaqzan, that is Ibn Tufayl, inshallah. Okay, from Andalusia, we'll move on to another slide. This is a very short epilogue. Andalusia is not merely a territory and an Islamic period in Europe, but a manifestation of a civilization with great impact on that continent. Hayy Ibn Yaqzan is not merely an Andalusian magnum opus, but one with great impact on the development of European thought and literature. Next. This is with regard to Andalusia as a background, which to me is a shining Islamic heritage. Andalusia or Al-Andalus is a well-known historical entity in Europe, generally referred to as Islamic Spain. It stood around the Iberian Peninsula for about 700 years, mainly from the 8th century to the 14th century. It is popularly believed that Al-Andalus refers to the land of the Vandals, because historically the Vandals, very big community actually, or destroyers, did attack and occupied parts of the Iberian Peninsula, specifically or mainly in the 5th century. And before the coming of Islam to Al-Andalus, the Christians were in control of the peninsula. During the time, it was generally marked by civil wars in which Unitarian Christians suppressed other Christian denominations, as well as the Jews. So people were suffering under their rules at that time. Go ahead. Now we come to under Islam, Andalusia as a shining Islamic heritage. Under Islam, Andalusia was a fertile meeting point of Muslims, Christians, and Jews. This is just the opposite of the situation before the coming of Islam to the area. The Muslims created a great Tawhidic civilization comprising of science, technology, economy, religion, philosophy, literature, and the arts. These all flourished for hundreds of years. The civilization gave birth, in fact, to the well-known Renaissance in Europe since the 16th century. It is graced by well-known scholars in philosophy and literature. And one outstanding name is Ibn Tufayl. His work, he has a lot of works, of course, but his work, Hayy ibn Yaqzan, the subject of our discussion, is a great Andalusian magnum opus. Not only Andalusian, actually, great Islamic world literary magnum opus. Now from there, I go on to Ibn Tufayl, a little bit about him, a famous scholar in Europe. Ibn Tufayl is a short form, actually, for Abu Bakr Muhammad Ibn Abdul Malik Ibn Muhammad Ibn Tufayl Al-Khayshi. Among European scholars, he is known simply as Abu Bakr. He was born in 1106 at Wadi Ash, now Gaudis, near Granada, Andalusia. And he died in 1185 in Morocco. So he was going off and on from Granada to Morocco at that time. One more, Prof. Ibn Tufayl was a versatile scientist. He was also a private physician of Sultan Yusuf al-Mansur in Marrakesh, Morocco. At the same time, he was an advisor to the Sultan of Granada in Andalusia. So he would go back and forth, crossing the channel. Yeah? Very much like Ibn Rushd or Averroes and Ibn Bajjah. Ibn Tufayl was an influential philosopher in Europe. And our discussion later on will prove the fact that he was really very, very influential. A little bit more about him. No, we move on to the text that we will be discussing, which is Hayy ibn Yaqzan. Generally, I would refer to it as an amazing utopia of the individual. Slowly, I will also come to the concept of utopia and we'll try to understand everything about it. But I start with number one, philosophical allegory. This is a story, yes. It's also an allegorical form of story, but at the same time, it's also philosophical. So Hayy ibn Yaqzan, which in English would mean alive, son of awake. There are many translations actually, but I prefer to use this one, alive, Hayy, in Malay is hayat or hidup, son of awake. Yeah? Yaqzan means awake. So Hayy ibn Yaqzan is an early 12th century philosophical allegory written in classical Arabic. It features the life of Hayy, a baby boy cast on a tropical island somewhere in the Indian Ocean. It's mentioned very specifically, somewhere in the Indian Ocean. And he is adopted and nurtured by Du, Rusa Betina. The story is about a feral child, actually. It's about him being a feral child. The Malay translation would be anak alam, yeah? Feral child. His personal quest for knowledge without social and religious help. Technically, it is a utopia, and it is a utopia of the individual, especially because of the fact that he is a feral child, a child without a human mother. The magnum opus has been translated into several languages and inspired many writers. An early Latin translation is Philosophus Autodidactus, was done or published in 1671, was done by Edward Bococh. The picture that I put at the bottom there is not the Latin translation, but it is a popular Spanish translation based on that Latin translation. The original one, of course, translated into English, is the one that is at the top. Go ahead, Prof. Okay. This is the story all about, yeah? About a feral child dumped by his own mother, and then he was met and found by a doe, female deer, yeah? And raised by her. This is one or two of the famous pictures with regard to the two, Hayy and his mother, Du. Now I move on to the next one, still about Hayy ibn Yaqzan as an amazing utopia, but the subtopic here is from a feral child to mystical philosopher. He's moving from a feral child to a mystical philosopher. Yeah? This is something very utopic. Yeah? According to the story, there are two versions of Hayy's appearance on the island. First, very clearly said that Hayy was floated away in a box by his mother, a princess, who marries a man that is Yaqzan, his father, awake, without the consent of her authoritarian brother, a king. The king has given her instruction, standing instruction, is not to get married to anyone except the one he prefers or he chooses for her. But she is not following. Now she's scared. When she gave birth to this child, she has to float her away. In Islamic tradition, this makes Hayy akin to Prophet Moses, who was floated away as a baby by his mother, but in his case, he was in fear of the Pharaoh. Second, Hayy evolved from natural elements, then was endowed with spirit. This version makes Hayy akin to Prophet Adam. So we have to wrangle between the two. Yeah? Okay, next. Thank you. On the island, Hayy was well taken care by the DATO. At the same time, he slowly grew up as a human person using his senses, brain and heart, always observing and in control of the surrounding. To remind you again, to just remind ourselves again that his natural human mother, family is not around. And he is not aware of them also. When Hayy was 7, his mother, his DATO mother, died, and she died of old age. He was only 7. But with full sympathy, he performed autopsy, dissects her body on her, thus exercising his first scientific reasoning. Scientific work and reasoning. As a result, he came to know that she has passed away. He was trying to actually revive her, but finally he came to know that she already passed away, and that the heart was the center of her life, not the brain. For a while, he thought it was the brain. Yeah. Then he came to know it was the heart. Also, he began to understand the difference between the body that remains and the soul or spirit, roh, that has departed. So he begins to know about it. He begins to know that the roh, the soul, is more or less going to be there forever. But the body has passed away. Left alone on an island, this is beginning from age 7, Hayy proceeded with his intellectual self-education. One day, at the age of 21, he saw a fire. And of course, it turned very scary. Got very scary, but finally used the natural element, the fire, to cook his meals. And that's the first time that he learned how to cook some meals. But he was very choosy also, because he was very, very close to the environment, including the animals. In his contemplative life, now based in a cave, he started to move into a cave because his mother is no longer there with him. Hayy also pondered on soul's place of origin and return. And this led to the whole mystery of the origins and existence of the universe, especially the things, concepts that keep coming to his mind are creator, creation, celestial beings, eternity, etc., etc. Especially celestial beings. He would imitate them, especially in going around, as I will indicate afterward. I will explain more afterward. Hayy finally arrived at the notion of primal cause of all creation. He began to understand that it is non-physical. In fact, it is transcendent. And Hayy finally referred to this entity as wajibul wujud, which in English would translate as absolute or necessary being. Wujud yang wajib. Okay, next one, Prof. Hayy later pondered on the non-physical within himself, that is the soul. He came to realize that it is the soul, not the brain again, that is conscious of absolute being. This is soul. The purer the soul is, the better it witnesses, knows, and finally loves the absolute being. So he is actually coming closer and closer to the search and the meeting with the absolute being. Thus, perfect knowledge of God, according to him, is only possible through contemplative intuition, not through rational thought. Yeah, though rational thought to him is very, very important. But knowledge, perfect knowledge of God, will not be available through rational thought, but contemplative intuition. Indeed, to Hayy, witnessing the absolute is a spiritual or mystical experience. It is contemplative, intuitive, and direct. Absolute being is transcendent, of course. As such, it obliterates the rest. It's truly a blissful experience. He is actually now taking us into the mystical dimension of Islamic life, Sufism. One more, Paul? No. Next stage is his meeting with humans and society. At the age of 50, Hayy's island was visited by a human person by the name of Afzal. And Afzal went to the island in seek of spiritual experience. He was seeking for spiritual experience. Initially, being strangers to each other, they were both worried. They refused to talk to each other. But after a while, they became friends. In fact, Hayy later on would learn human language and exchange ideas with the newcomer. Afzal marveled at Hayy's intellectual achievement, regarded him as a saint, wali, because his thought is similar to that of, but at the same time, his thought is similar to that of religion. Hayy is already a person with religion, actually. On his part, I'm sorry, I was referring to Afzal. On his part, Hayy accepted religion as introduced by Afzal. Remember, Hayy has never been taught about religion. There's no one to teach him about religion. But when Afzal comes from the other island, Afzal has embraced religion, so he accepted it. But he wondered why religion is taught by way of analogy and metaphor, and why humans are allowed to embrace material comforts. See, his inclination is more towards spiritual life. Yeah? Okay, next. Hayy wants to share his intellectual plus spiritual practices and experiences with society. Thus, he agrees to visit Afzal's island, and the island is headed by Salaman, who excelled as an administrator. Afzal is more towards religion, Salaman is more towards administration. State, yeah. So Hayy thought that it would be good for him to share his intellectual, spiritual practices and experiences. Unfortunately, things turn out to be not in favor of his aims. The people at large are not interested in intellectual and spiritual endeavors. Some of them practice religion mainly based on rituals, with fear of hell and desire for paradise. On the other hand, others, from his observation, he found out that others simply neglect religion and prefer worldly gains. Frustrated, Hayy and Absal, sorry, not Asal, Absal, returned to their island to continue with their simple and contemplative life. Before departing, they tell the people to stick to religion and their lifestyle, because they realize the fact that people are not similar. Majority of the people would prefer the ordinary life or ordinary religion, but one or two like them, only one or two would go for contemplative life. So they said goodbye and left the island. This is Hayy and Absal, sorry, returning to the island. Now we go to another section, category, which is types of knowledge and men. I'm following his contemplative processes. At this point, it is important to note that Hayy ibn Yaqzan is not a simple feral child story. Although I mentioned several times that he is a feral child, and in fact, yes, he is a feral child, but Hayy ibn Yaqzan is not a simple feral child story. Kisah anak alam atau anak hutan. It is actually a feral child story that grapples with the issue of epistemology and enlightenment. It discusses types of knowledge, objects of knowledge, as well as methods of acquiring them. Furthermore, there is hierarchy of knowledge that he is grappling with human types or personalities corresponding to various levels of the hierarchy. This is really an issue of epistemology. As an extraordinary feral child, Hayy is fully aware of the above intricacies and is all prepared to embrace and in fact celebrate them. All the intricacies. Indeed, Hayy is of the spiritual type. These are the reasons again. Unaided by society and religion, he is able to develop knowledge. Developing it from the empirical to the intellectual, and finally the spiritual. Earlier on, with the help from his mother, the doe, Hayy is able to survive on the island without destroying the natural environment. He was very close with the animals, of course also very close with the plants, although he would make use some of the plants for his own survival. Example, in order to make his shirt, and so on and so forth. He succeeds in understanding the relationship between body and soul, creator and creation, as well as in witnessing and loving the absolute being. This is the ultimate. Aside from the above, the story suggests that every individual is born with natural characteristics which enable him or her to know and to love God. But at the same time, people have different personalities with different tendencies and levels of achievement. So these are some of the results of his search for knowledge, and especially ultimately for knowledge of the absolute being. Now we come to another section, subsection, enlightenment and utopia of the individual. With regard to the theme of enlightenment, it must be mentioned that Hayy ibn Yaqzan is related to some works by Ibn Sina. Ibn Sina passed away 1037. In fact, it is adapted from a trilogy of visionary recital, by Ibn Sina. Namely, number one, Hayy ibn Yaqzan, which is the same title actually, more or less the same story also. Number two, Risalah At-Tayr. And number three, and finally, Salaman wa Absal. So the name Absal is used in his Hayy ibn Yaqzan also. The trilogy, I'm referring still to Ibn Sina's trilogy, deals with the quest for spiritual guidance and enlightenment, and its origins or sources symbolized by the Orient, Al-Mashriq. It is central in Ibn Sina's school of philosophy and is called Al-Hikmah Al-Mashriqiyah, Oriental Wisdom. Ibn Tufayl benefited a lot from this. In fact, he has admitted the fact that he has benefited and borrowed and benefited from Ibn Sina's work. The admission may be seen in certain versions and translation, including in a Malay translation, the translation I will mention later on. So I brought up this issue not to say that he merely copied from Ibn Sina. No. He didn't merely copy. Ibn Tufayl created a fresh work. This work is a philosophical allegory. It is a form of utopia and utopia of the individual, focusing on epistemology and spiritual enlightenment. In this innovative work, mystical experience is the highest form of knowledge. In order to secure a successful quest for understanding and achieve mystical experience, one has to practice self-discipline. And as shown by Hayy in his daily life, and especially after the death of his mother, the Do. This includes making routine circular exercises, very much like what is now done by the willing dervishes. In fact, Hayy goes to the extent of living in the cave, not living in the cave, sorry, living within the cave. To him, self-discipline would unfold self-discovery. Living within the cave or in the cave is part of that unfolding process. But every time he comes out of the cave, he would be going around. Now regarding utopia, since I have made use of the term utopia and utopia of the individual. Utopia is a noun derived from eu, perfect, but also means no, and topos, place, so meaning perfect place. This is Greek here. But conversely, it could also be a pun to mean no place. So when the word utopia is mentioned, the two normally come along together. Yes and no. Perfect place, but it could also mean no place or no such place. Utopia is a familiar genre in Islamic and European traditions, especially literary traditions. Some examples would include Al-Madinah, Al-Fadilah, views of citizens of noble city. In Malaysia, we are not talking about Madani. This is by Abu Nasr al-Farabi, who died in 950, and Utopia 1516 by Sir Thomas More. But both are about social utopia, whereas Hayy Ibn Yaqzan concentrates on the individual utopia. In that sense, Hayy Ibn Yaqzan is a novelty. As discussed above, it presents utopia of the individual, concentrating mainly on Hayy. And not just any Hayy, but the feral child who becomes a mystical philosopher. It is really a paradigm shift. But we want to take the second meaning of this utopia. It could lead to the notion of there's no such thing. But as the author put across, the word utopia, the concept utopia should be taken in a positive manner. Okay, thank you, Prof. Now we go to the fifth section, reception in Europe. Due to its uniqueness, Hayy Ibn Yaqzan was warmly received in Europe. Partly because of the fact that Andalusia was there in Europe, and it was still a very strong empire or nation. But it was very well received in Europe, even after the collapse of Andalusia. This may be seen in its long translation history. Starting in 1349, it was translated into Hebrew. And from this Hebrew translation, it was translated into Latin in the 15th century. Then specifically in 1672, it was translated into Dutch by a friend of Spinoza, and again translated into Dutch in 1701. This goes on and on. I just put down some notes there, translated to German twice, 1728 and 1782, to French, 1900, to Russian, and to Spanish several times. Okay. That is the general introduction with regard to the reception in Europe. There are 6 manuscripts of Hayy ibn Yaqzan in Arabic. Most complete and authoritative is the one copied in Iskandaria in 1303. Fortunately, it was discovered in Aleppo in 1653 and kept at Bodleian Library, Oxford University. Based on this manuscript, it's a Latin translation, a Latin translation, the title of which is Philosophicus Autodidactus, Self-Made Philosopher, was published in 1671. Sorry. Okay, go ahead, Prof. This was followed by several new editions in Latin until 1700. And it became foundation for 2 early English translations. First, by George Keith in 1674, and second, by George Ashwell in 1686. Very early English translation. Now, with regard to the Bodleian text, first English translation based on this text appeared in 1708, thanks to Simon Oakley, Professor of Arabic at Cambridge University. This text has been reprinted several times until 1929. As such, it could be summarized now that Hayy ibn Yaqzan was truly popular in Europe, and especially in England. With the end of the 20th century, it saw many more English translations. For example, in 1970 and in 1982, for example, there were translations by Riyad Kokachi, which I used for this presentation. Now we go to the 6th section, Impact on Thought and Literature. Hayy ibn Yaqzan has tremendous impact on European thought and literature. Of course, this could be seen even from the history of translation just now. Now we start with impact on European thought. It all started within Andalusia itself. In Andalusia itself, firstly, we could see the impact on a very famous personality by the name of Maimonides. Was born in 1135 and passed away in 1202. He was a famous Jewish philosopher, and this could be seen in his works, including Guide of the Perplexed. That is the image of Maimonides, a Jewish philosopher. In modern time, it has impacts on great Western philosophers too. These include personalities like John Locke, Gottfried Leibniz, and even Spinoza also. So we go to literature. In literature, Hayy Yaqzan give rise to numerous translations and adaptations, especially in English. For example, Ashwell published a translation and an adaptation. And I'm referring to his work, the title of which is The Book of Nature, which was adapted from Hayy Yaqzan, published back to back with it. In the work, he encourages readers to emulate Hayy. Ashwell, yeah. Aside from Ashwell, Hayy Yaqzan also influenced Daniel Defoe. And this could be seen especially in his work Robinson Crusoe, which has been regarded as the first novel in English. Lucky they didn't say the first novel in the world, because to me, if you're talking about the first novel in the world, it should be Hayy Yaqzan. Of course, we don't have to use the term novel. During the first time, Hayy Ibn Yaqzan was translated and reprinted several times and widely circulated in London. This is a historical fact. Next, bro. Okay, this is about his connection with Hayy Ibn Yaqzan. Yeah? Defoe was 14 years old when the first English translation was published in 1671. So when the first English translation was published in 1671, he was already there and he was already 14 years old. Would be able to read, of course. But if you say he misses it, then he was 48 when Oakley published his translation in 1708. So there is no way that he can escape from reading this. He was a good reader, you know, and the literary work, Hayy Yaqzan was very famous at that time. In 1719, a decade after Oakley's publication, Defoe published his famous novel, Robinson Crusoe. There is an image of Robinson Crusoe, the cover of the story. It has been reprinted many, many times. It has been introduced to even our school children when I was studying in the secondary school. I was, of course, made to read it and made to believe that this is the first novel written in the world, not only in English, yeah, in the world. Of course, it was very interesting, and it's still very interesting, Robinson Crusoe. Okay, we go ahead now. However, like Hayy Yaqzan, the first works presents a castaway. In this case, it is Crusoe himself, Robinson Crusoe, castaway on an island off the coast of South America. And he was there for 28 years. Hayy was there on his island for 50 years. First, we look at the differences. Crusoe was cast on the island after a shipwreck, his own ship. He had a shipwreck. He was at that time an adult, not only an adult, but a slave trader. Of course, in terms of morality, was morally wrong, yeah, compared to Hayy ibn Yaqzan. This is the difference. Another difference is type of plot. Robinson Crusoe is an adventure romance, not a philosophical romance or philosophical allegory. Well, I have read many times about this statement. It has been said that his work is also based on a memoir written by Alexander Selkirk, a Scottish sailor, on his adventure on the islands of Juan Fernandez. Now that may be true, but that doesn't escape the fact that he was influenced by Hayy ibn Yaqzan. Okay, go on. Nevertheless, Robinson Crusoe follows new model set by Hayy ibn Yaqzan. That is, a narrative with elements of utopia. Now we look at the similarities between the two. But later on, I will also show the different type of utopia. Okay, both present a man alone on an island. And this man happened to be alone on the island. In the case of Hayy, he was a child, felon child. In the case of Robinson Crusoe, he was a very notorious man. And both were there on the island due to wrongdoings. In the case of Hayy ibn Yaqzan, it was his mother's wrongdoing because she married without her brother's consent. She was a princess. The brother was a king, actually. The brother has reminded her many times, don't ever get married until I give you consent. When she got married to Yaqzan and she delivered a baby, she was scared that the baby would be killed by the brother. So he put her, took her to the river. In the term of Crusoe, he went abroad against his father's wishes. So the two were found on the island due to wrongdoing. In the case of Crusoe, it was his own wrongdoing. But on the island, both perform more or less similar routine. Walking around the island, constructing hut, gathering foods, inventing tools, etc., etc. And both were free from danger. And at the same time, both keep close to God. Crusoe already know his God, but Hayy was searching for the God, of course, and finally found it. Both finally met a person coming from a nearby island. Hayy meets Absal, Crusoe meets Friday. Both were involved in teaching of language. Absal teaches Hayy language. Hayy, of course, teaches Absal how to live on an island. On the part of Crusoe, Robinson Crusoe, he teaches Friday language because Friday is a native. Hayy tries to teach people on Absal's island. Crusoe also teaches a person, that is Friday, and he concentrates on Christian teaching. He was trying to convert Friday to civilize others. This is Western burden of civilization. Hayy doesn't have that kind of burden. Crusoe's burden of civilization also included his interest in increasing his wealth. Remember, he is a slave trader. Okay. Thus, influence of Hayy ibn Yaqzan on Robinson Crusoe is crystal clear. Much clearer is Hayy ibn Yaqzan's influence on another work by Defoe. And this work is not popular, but my research led me to it. The title of this book is Robinson Crusoe's Vision of the Angelic World. This is even closer to Hayy ibn Yaqzan, actually, talking about the angelic world. And like Hayy ibn Yaqzan, the second work by Robinson Crusoe is meditative in nature and deals with spiritual enlightenment and the transcendent world. And I have a feeling that he was not satisfied with the earlier one, that is Robinson Crusoe. Then he came up with this one, Robinson Crusoe's Vision of the Angelic World. But this immediately bring to my mind the relationship, the closer relationship between him and Ibn Tufayl. Okay, we are coming close to the end, I think. Now, this is the last part, Hayy ibn Yaqzan in the Malay world. Hayy ibn Yaqzan was and is still popular in many parts of the Muslim world. This includes the Malay world, including Malaysia and Indonesia. I have not included Brunei because I have not come across any translation done in Brunei. I also didn't include Singapore because maybe my weakness, because I have not been able to come across any translation from these two countries. Also, Philippines, especially in the south, I thought there would be none. There would be one or two, but my search shows that there was none. But Alhamdulillah, in Malaysia and Indonesia, this text is quite popular. Okay, the allegory has been translated into Malay, both Jawi and Rumi, actually. One example of Malay Jawi translation was published in Penang in 1919. It was translated by a literary figure and religious figure by the name of Ahmad Abdul Qadir bin Abdul Rahman, Falfalan. The name Falfalan at the back, he himself wrote it, to mean Pulau Pinang, Falfalan. I've been trying to get more information with regard to this man, but until now I cannot get. But I managed to get the title of his translation. The full title of his translation is Risalah Hayy bin Yaqzan pada Rahsia Hikmat Al-Mashriqiyah, dikeluarkan oleh Abu Ja'far Ibn Tufayl daripada perkataan Abu Ali Ibn Sina. The English translation would be Treatise of Hayy bin Yaqzan, The Secrets of Hikmat al-Mashriqiyah, extracted from Abu Ali ibn Sina by Abu Ja'far bin Tufayl. This means that the translation directly relates Hayy bin Yaqzan or Ibn Yaqzan to Ibn Sina's trilogy, especially the trilogy of the Hikmat al-Mashriqiyah. So if you happen to hold on to this piece, I was able to touch my fingers on it about 10 years ago, I think. Now I cannot find it anymore. It would be a very interesting experience, actually, to know that he would directly relate Hayy bin Yaqzan to the trilogy by Ibn Sina. Okay. Later on, many other translations have been published in Malaysia and Indonesia. Some have been made available online. So if you are interested, then you will be able to get hold of this text. Number one is a translation coming from Indonesia. The title is Hayy bin Yaqzan, Anak Alam Mencari Tuhan. In English, it would mean Hayy bin Yaqzan, Ibn Yaqzan. Yeah. I mentioned already Anak Alam just now. Yeah. A feral child, yeah, looking for God. Anak Alam Mencari Tuhan. It was translated by Ahmadik Taha, published by Pustaka Firdaus, Jakarta, 1997. The next one is coming from Malaysia. The title is even more interesting, actually. Ibn Yaqzan, I cannot read.
Tarzan.
There is the name Tarzan there at the back on the second line. Can you please read, Prof?
Ibn Yaqzan, cerita terawal tentang Tarzan oleh Ibn Tufayl Al-Andalus.
Yes, yes. He directly relates the story about Tarzan, yeah, to this literary work. This is a translation made by one Rusli, one Ahmad, published by Al-Manar Resources, Kuala Lumpur, 2022.
Dr. Wan Rosli is the Deputy President of Rabitah Al-Adab Al-Islami.
Alhamdulillah. Congratulations. He's the Deputy President, Prof.
Yeah, the President is Dr. Abdurrahman Chi. The Deputy is Dr. Wan Rosli.
Is he also with
Yes,
IIUM?
he's the Deputy Dean for Student Affairs, if I'm not mistaken, at the Kuliah of Education.
Alhamdulillah, yeah. Again, congratulations. And he has done something great. Yeah.
He has translated many works.
Yes. All right. I think we have one or two more. Yeah, this is the last slide. In conclusion, it should be emphasized that Hayy bin Yaqzan by Ibn Tufayl immensely captures the imagination of European for centuries. It informs their intellectual and literary traditions. If you want to add, then it has to be, unfortunately, this has not been acknowledged. Mostly not acknowledged. But specifically, it informs the so-called first novel written in the English language, namely Robinson Crusoe, as well as a few other stories which highlights individuals such as Tarzan and Mowgli. Without reading Hayy Yaqzan, we wouldn't know that Tarzan actually has its origin here. We will not know that Mowgli also has origins in Hayy Yaqzan. So it is truly a jewel of intellectual and literary tradition from the great Andalusian Islamic civilization. With that, I end my presentation. Prof, thank you very much. Again, also to the League, International League. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Barakallah fiqh. Datuk Seri, it was a very enlightening lecture, very crystal clear. You explained one by one. Many of our students, and we have also lecturers, the Dean of Arabic Department, the Dean of the Arabic Faculty in UNISA is also with us.
Oh,
yeah, we have, mashallah, a number of prominent.
How many altogether?
We have 31 on Zoom. We are also live on YouTube.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. My RA will inform me the number. Yes, we are open now for questions. I'll be gathering questions from both Zoom and YouTube. Faris?
From YouTube, not yet.
Okay, in Zoom. Any questions in Zoom? In the chat? None. Okay, we open now to the participants in attending now live. If you
Prof.
have
Rahmah.
Yes, Prof. Nur Farida.
Can I have one question? Prof. SALLEH. Thank you for
Prof. Farida, how are you keeping?
Assalamualaikum. Thank you, especially for highlighting the influence in Nusantara of the book. But it set me thinking about the audience when it was first written and when it came to Nusantara. I mean, it would specifically address a certain kind of audience. I would assume in the early days in Andalusia, it would be the scientists, the scholars. It definitely not meant for the masses. And in Nusantara, I don't know. I mean, I suppose it's also for the elitist group, the learned. Otherwise, how would the ordinary people understand or, you know, could relate to such high level thinking? It sets me to another question.
Yes, bro.
I mean, would we have the same interest in this book today, where people don't like to read, people don't like to think? how do we bring back the old days today, you know, to now? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Prof. Rahmah.
You can answer immediately, Dato' Sri. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Farida, for the questions. Very relevant and important, significant questions. Yeah. Yes, I think I would agree with you that this kind of work was written for specific groups of audience. Those who would be interested in Hayy ibn Yaqzan, to me, would be, yes, number one, the scientists, the various forms of sciences, yeah, because it has to do with the environment, also having to do with the human parts of the human body. But at the same time, I believe that it was also addressed to the would-be mystics, or people interested in mysticism or mystical philosophy. Yeah? This is the reason why he, in fact, mentioned and focus on Hayy's attitude towards various places that he was grappling with, and he finally chose to live in a cave. Yeah? And also he chose to go around the heart, and sometimes also the island, you know, very much like the whirling dervish. So to me, he had that kind of intention, that is to address and to attract people who are interested in Sufism or in that kind of spiritual knowledge and exercises. So if these two kind of audiences are there, then I think the work would be easily delivered. In the Malay world, like in the case of Penang, obviously Al-Falfalan was a religious scholar, and from what little I know about him is that he was also interested in the mystical dimension of Islamic life. I hope I have answered Prof. Farida's question.
Thank you so much.
Prof. Farida.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prof.
We had Prof. Rusnani just now. I'm not sure whether Prof. Rusnani is still in with us.
She has herself written an article on this.
Yes, yes. Dr. Wan Rusli.
Dr. Wan Rusli, yes.
Yeah, Dr. Wan Rusli is the
Prof.
the
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Thank you for your very actually beneficial talk about this topic. Actually, this topic actually attract me when I was teaching subject, Arabic subject actually, not
Yes,
in
fact, you use your book for teaching of Arabic, right?
Arabic, because the language of Ibn Tufayl is very bombastic for me. It's very good.
Of course, yes.
Very classical and very bombastic and very good language. And then
highly technical, very highly technical.
Very highly technical. And I asked my student to read extra reading actually. then after that, I revised the course outline and made the story as essential reading text reading for my subject, classical Arabic prose text.
Okay.
Higher education. And
Fits in
alhamdulillah,
very well.
the student, mashallah, love the story a lot, and alhamdulillah, they learn a lot of mustalahat, even terms in Arabic, how to translate to Malay. And then before that, I think I had to translate the work, inshallah, to Malay. But side by side, with Arabic translation, the Arabic text, the original text. That's the story behind my translation of Tufayl, Hayy, Yaqzan, alhamdulillah. But that's kind of summary, not the full story, because the part of the philosophical part actually is very, very tough to me, very tough for student to read actually, to understand it. Some part actually I just
yeah, I think you skip some part, yeah.
Some part, some very philosophical part. They need
Intriguing part.
but I mentioned that at the beginning of the translation. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof, for that. Alhamdulillah.
I have to thank Prof. Rahmah for introducing the book to me, actually.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Dr. Sri, Prof. Wan Rosli has many translations. He's a prolific translator. He has translated many works, and he has made it into theaters, plays for his students.
Yes.
Inshallah. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
You have done something very significant, actually, for our culture. Because it's not easy for just anyone to lay his hand on books such as this. But once you put it there in your blog, then it's easy. Especially with both texts, the Arabic as well as the Malay text.
Yeah, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah.
Inshallah, we try to propose, Prof. Inshallah, Dr. Sri, the books to be extra reading for our religious school students.
Yes.
They are poor reader of text like classical.
Correct. Yeah.
Inshallah.
Okay. Thank you. I would like to open up. I would like to open up to maybe Prof. Rafida from UNISA. Do you have any questions? Would you like to give your comments, share your experience about teaching literature such as this? Prof. Rafida Abdullah. Okay. Maybe Dr. Ghazali Zainuddin from University Islam Selangor. Okay.
I saw his name just now.
Yeah, Dr. Ghazali Zainuddin. Yeah.
Sorry, Prof. I'm still driving here.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay, tak apa. Terima kasih. Thank you so much for joining us. Safe driving. Yeah. Dr. Ahmad Lubis from, I assume from Indonesia.
Yes, Dr. Ahmad Lubis from IN, I think. I saw
University
his.
Islam Negeri.
Yeah.
Dr. Ahmad Lubis. Okay, we have
Dr. Ghazali is still driving just now, eh?
Yeah, Dr. Pabia from UPM.
Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Waalaikumsalam,
Warahmatullahi
Rafida.
wabarakatuh.
Dr. Rafida from UNISA, yes.
Yes, sorry. Thank you so much, Prof, for this opportunity. Alhamdulillah, telling the truth, actually in Brunei, I'm not using this book, but after all what I've learned today, inshallah, I'll try to use this book among our students, because we are now only focusing on الشعر ويعني ليس القصة, ولكن inshallah I will try. So
yes.
I benefit a lot from this talk. Thank you very much, Prof. Inshallah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, for the intention to have it included in your syllabus.
Inshallah, inshallah.
Yeah.
Although our syllabus, inshallah.
Yeah, although the normal title in Malay would be hikayat, yeah.
Hikayat, yeah.
But it is not the hikayat the way that we understand it. Yeah, this is a very scientific kind of narration. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
But presented in a fictional manner. Something scientific, but presented in a very fictional manner.
Yes,
and interesting.
Yeah.
It turns it into a story, and a very strange kind of story.
True.
Strange kind of story. Feral child.
Yeah. So
anak it's not anak kampung. This is even anak
anak
hutan.
alam.
Anak alam. A better word is anak alam actually.
Yeah, anak alam.
Instead of saying anak binatang or anak hutan.
Okay.
Anak alam, more or less like Moses, yeah, when he was drifted away.
Inshallah.
But in this case, he was found by a Jew. Nabi Allah Musa was found by what? An assistant to the queen.
Yeah,
of Fir'aun. Yeah. And he was brought up in the vicinity of the Fir'aun. But this one, he was there until the age of 50. He was not able to see a man. Not even one, until Absal came across.
MashaAllah.
Yes.
And Absal was in search of a place where to go and have a seclusive manner of living, and then focusing on meditation and all that.
Dr. Pabia, Dr. Pabia, Dr. Muhammad Shahrizal, Pabia from UPM, and Dr. Muhammad Shahrizal from UNISA.
UNISA.
Yeah. Would you like to join the discussion before I wrap up? Shahrizal?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Prof, apa khabar?
Baik, Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Prof. Dato' and Prof. Rahmah. I just want to ask Prof. Dato' regarding this literary works. So as mentioned by you in your presentation just now, this literary work actually already translated to several languages.
Yes,
so
international.
So basically, as we know, when the literary works have been translated to several works, so maybe it leads to several meanings, different types of meaning based on the culture of the language or the society of the language. So what's your opinion, Prof, on this?
There is a possibility, but since this work has been the center of focus among experts, so it's very difficult for just anyone to run away from its intended or original meaning. But of course, tafsiran is normal for them to have a different kind of understanding. But anyone reading this would know that this is definitely a meditative kind of work, yeah, aiming for meditative kind of exercises. Yeah. But one thing good about it is that although the inclination of Tufayl is towards mystical Islam, mysticism, yeah, Sufism, but when he was introduced to religion as such, yeah, in the kampung, in the island lived by Absal, yeah, well, that is actually Sharia, yeah. But he didn't say no to it. He said, okay, you go ahead with your Sharia. I'm more interested in my Sufism. Yeah. So they just retreated, came back to the islands. They want a very meditative kind of life.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that all right, Prof?
Yeah.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Warahmatullah.
Can I join the discussion?
Yes.
Please.
Who is speaking?
Assalamualaikum. My name is
Shafiqa.
Salam.
Assalamualaikum, Prof. Dato. I am a student of Professor Dr. RAHMAH.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a question, but before that, thank you for this beautiful sharing. Actually, me myself, I was never this interested about like literature in comparison to linguistics, as I'm taking linguistics in my master right now. Yeah, and obviously I have yet to read any version, even translated version of this work, Hayy Ibn Yaqzan, and now I can't wait to touch the book and to read. So my question is very simple actually. It's regarding the content of the book. So was it mentioned anywhere about the religion that was mentioned, preached by Absal and also Hayy to the people on the island, right? So was it mentioned anywhere that, was it the religion of Islam that we have today, or was it like a self-discovered ideology that, or there is indeed a supreme being and the world is beyond only the worldly matters, the material things, you know? And was there a label to it, to this ideology that was discovered by Hayy Ibn Yaqzan? I know it's a fiction, right? It's a fictional work, but I want to know if it's, you know, mentioned anywhere in the review of the book or anywhere. Yeah, thank you.
In the review of the book, it is possible to mention, yeah. But in the text itself, Ibn Tufayl was very, very clever. Yeah? He was a wise person. He didn't want to offend anyone, right? Most philosophers would do that. They wouldn't want to offend others. Although another kind of philosopher, yeah, thinker would think, this one is against my belief. Yeah? This is against me. And people would say, for example, those living on the island, yeah, administered by Salaman, yeah, and also people like Absal. He comes from the island. Yeah, he knows that the people of the island are more into religion as such. So when you mention religion as such, you are referring actually to Shariat.
Yes.
Or the term Shariat is not mentioned there, but you're referring to Shariat. Yeah? Whereas Absal is not very interested in that kind of life. Yeah? This is the reason why he was searching for an island, a place where he can go and live quietly. Yeah, meditate. So he went to this island, not knowing that Hayy was there. See, but when they came to know each other, of course, obviously, when they first came across each other, they were frightened by one another. Yeah. When they came to know that they are of the same kind, so they managed to be very close friends, actually. And that's the reason also why Afzal invited Hayy to go to that island, to his island, administered by Salaman. Yeah? They were thinking that they would be able to go there and da'wah those people to follow their ways of thinking, their ways of doing things, which is basically very, very meditative in nature. But the people there were not of their kind, right? The people there were basically those abiding to the Shariat. But even those abiding to the Shariat, according to Hayy, the good ones, they have their own self-interest. They want to ensure that they are not thrown into hell. They want to make sure that they go to heaven. That is self-interest. Yeah, they're not really interested in their God. they're talking about their own self-interest actually. Yeah. But in our case, in the case of Hayy and also Afzal, they are interested primarily in the so-called wajib al-wujud, that is God. Most Sufis are like that actually. Most Sufis are like that, and they are, what is it that they are for? They are for union with God. Union with God. But those in Sharia are more for either to run away from neraka or be able to be admitted to shirka.
Yeah, for their own sake.
Yeah, for your own, actually. So they are very clever. The writers mostly will not point out. Yeah, obviously they will not point out in a very obvious manner that we are against you. Although the normal ulama will not like this book actually. The normal ulama, the normal ustad will not like this book.
Okay, thank you, Prof. I just want to say your sharing has left me wanting to explore more on the classic literature world, and of course by the help of Professor Dr. RAHMAH, inshallah.
Yeah, so we have succeeded in converting you.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah, thank you for that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Barakallah Fiki. I forgot just now.
You should buy the book translated by Prof.
Dr. Wan Rusli.
Of course, inshallah. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for the suggestion.
Barakallah Fiki. I forgot to inform Dato' Sri just now that Dr. Muhammad Shahrizal is an alumnus of IUM. He's a prolific writer. He used to write even during his bachelor degree. He was already publishing, and he presented in USM way back. I can't remember what year. He can verify that. About Al-Comedy Al-Ilahiyah, Divine Comedy.
Divine Comedy.
Yeah, how the Divine Comedy was influenced by Isra and Mi'raj.
I thought he published it together with you.
Betul. That was after. Before that, we presented the paper in USM.
Oh, okay.
What year was that, Shahrizal?
Still
2010, I think.
No, way before. 2010, I went to New Zealand. 2009, yeah.
9.
Okay.
And the article published in Kemanusiaan.
Yeah, mashallah.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is, and he has a section in the newspaper every day, every week. Can't remember. Yeah. Where he writes, as I mentioned, he's a prolific writer.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Very prolific then.
Yeah, mashallah. Okay.
Which paper is this, Dr. Shahrizal?
Metro, Prof. In the column
Metro.
of Adil. Adil.
You have your own column.
Yeah, Alhamdulillah, Prof.
Alhamdulillah. Good.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, Alhamdulillah, we are at 10:15.
Anyone from UNISA, Prof?
Shahrizal is in UNISA.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Dr. Shahrizal is from
UNISA.
UNISA. We have Dr.
UNISA Terengganu.
Terengganu.
Okay.
Yeah. We have Dr. Pabia from UPM.
Yes, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Salam.
Thank you very much, Prof. Rahmah, and also Professor Datuk Sri for your interesting lecture for this night. Yes, as mentioned by Professor Dr. Rafida, I think just now from UNISA, I myself, frankly speaking, I didn't include this literary work into my syllabus, but after this night, I have to consider to include into my syllabus also, inshallah. Yes,
Please
thank you very
so.
much. Barakallahu fikum, inshallah.
Barakallahu fikum.
Assalamualaikum.
Thank you.
All right. I think we have Professor Munjid Bahjat from Iraq. He is now currently residing in Turkey. Prof. Munjid, ahlan wa sahlan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ahlan wa sahlan, Prof. Ahlan wa sahlan.
Prof. Munjid.
Actually, it was nice speech, but يعني إذا أريد أن أناقش باللغة العربية وحضرتك تترجمين.
بسم الله.
ممكن هذا؟
تفضلوا إن شاء الله.
هو فقط عندي ملاحظتان. الملاحظة الأولى في السلايد رقم 5 ذكر أن مدة حكم الأندلس كانت 700 سنة. 700 years. سلايد رقم 5. فلا أدري هل هو يعني متعمد قلص المدة. هي في الحقيقة 800 سنة، ولكن ما ذكر قال 700 سنة، والمدة لو ذكر التاريخ من 711 إلى 1492 موجود الآن في السطر الرابع. About 70 years.
700 years.
700 years, yeah. Actually, it is 800 years.
800 years, okay.
Yeah. وكذلك هناك ما بعد سقوط الأندلس الموريسكيون. هؤلاء لهم أدب وتاريخ لمدة قرنين من الزمان، يعني 200 سنة. وهذه 200 سنة دخلت الآن في دراسات الأدب الأندلسي.
من هم بروف؟
الموريسكيون. وترجمة الموريسيكي بمعنى المسلمون الصغار بعد سقوط الأندلس. نعم، فهذه ربما تضاف. الملاحظة الأخيرة الثانية والأخيرة، ممكن هذه توصليها له الملاحظة الأولى أم أكمل؟
كمل.
طيب، الملاحظة الثانية والأخيرة، يلاحظ أن قصة حي بن يقظان اشترك في تأليفها أكثر من مؤلف. فعندنا ابن طفيل، وعندنا ابن سينا، وعندنا السهروردي. ولا لفت نظر أنه لم تأتي الإشارة إلى السهروردي، وهو فيلسوف متأخر. فهل وجود كثرة المؤلفين يدل على عدم مصداقية القصة، بمعنى أن كل مؤلف يأتي فيضيف عليها؟ وهذا شأن ألف ليلة وليلة كذلك، أنها دخل فيها مؤلفون كثيرون. نعم. ثم النقطة الأخيرة، هل قصة روبنسون كروسو تأثرت بقصة ابن طفيل حي بن يقظان تأثرا مباشرا؟ أعني هل اطلع المؤلف لروبنسون كروسو دانيال بيفو، هل اطلع دانيال بيفو على، هل عندنا دليل أبروف، يعني دليل على أن دانيال بيفو اطلع على قصة حي بن يقظان أم هو مجرد تشابه والتقاء فكري؟ وشكرا.
هذا يحتاج إلى محاضرة أخرى بروف.
لا يعني أنا الهدف
لا فهمت
أن
نعم.
أوصل فكرتي، لا أحتاج إلى الجواب، يعني ربما إذا الوقت لا يسمح ممكن يؤجل الجواب، لكن لفائدة البروف محمد صالح ونشكره على المحاضرة القيمة.
نعم. طيب Dr. Sri, there are 5 questions. I think 4. Okay, never mind. Prof. Munjid Mustafa Bahjat was our professor of literature, and we all benefited from him. He's like our guru, our sifu in Arabic literature. He has left us and has gone to Turkey now. Okay, his first observation in Dato' Sri's slide number 5, where you mentioned the period of the reign of the Andalusia was 700 years. He said he would like to correct it. It was more than 800 years. And that's one. And then after the fall of Andalusia, there was actually a tribe or a community known as Murqiyun, Al-Murqiyun. And they were available for with their contributions for around 200 years after that. But that was not mentioned. And he also, the third observation, he said there are so many people that have contributed to this topic of Ibn Yaqzan. So among others, Dr. Sri mentioned Ibn Sina, Ibn Tufayl, but he would like to add another scholar by the name of As-Saharwardi.
Yes, As-Saharwardi.
Yeah, okay. He did not find this in Dr. Sri's presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's number 3. Number 4, they are. I think this is similar to what Dr. Muhammad Shahrizal denoted earlier, where he said there are so many authors that have contributed to this story of Ibn Yaqzan, and therefore it has been translated to so many languages, and therefore there will be many interpretations of this Ibn Yaqzan. So he is questioning the authenticity of all these versions. How do you authenticate which version is the right one? Okay. And number 5, is there evidence, direct evidence or clear evidence indicating that the 4 referred to Ibn Yaqzan's Ibn Tufayl's Ibn Yaqzan, and he was influenced by that, or was that just an indication? I hope I did justice to your questions, Prof. Munjid. Whatever it is, inshallah, you two scholars can communicate and ask. So Dr. Sri, you want to respond, or is?
Yeah, I accept those comments, yeah, especially with regard to the length, yeah, whether it's 700 or 800 or more. Yeah? That could be corrected very easily after I revise this paper, inshallah.
Yeah. Okay.
But with regard to the translation, yes, obviously, it is based on their understanding of the subject matter or the text, yeah? And then they translate it the way they understand it. And it is the duty of those whoever make comments, yeah, or review to look into it, yeah? Whether a translation is basically more or less correct or not.
Yeah.
That is normally done by those reviewers.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much for the suggestions.
Hey, Barakallah fikum. Thank you very, very much, Dato' Sri, again for your wonderful enlightenment on the topic. It is an eye-opener to many. These kind of things are not spoken about enough. I think it is a small conversation among a handful of scholars, and it is not shared sufficiently. So inshallah, I hope with this lecture, my students that are attending this lecture will be motivated and inspired to write about this and choose to write about this in your thesis or in your articles, inshallah, in the near future. With that,
if
yes,
I may
Dr.
add,
Sri. Yeah.
If I may add, then it is the duty of especially those who have the knowledge of the language, Arabic especially, to come forward and try to do even better than me, because I have to put up my hand and tell everyone that I do not know Arabic. So I cannot go to the original. I base my understanding on the different types of translations. I try to weigh and see which one is coming closer. But Alhamdulillah, inshallah, if we can encourage more of our scholars with the knowledge of the language, whichever language is concerned. In this case, it is Arabic. Then it would be good if those having the mastery of Arabic come forward and do this bit. I have to come forward because I see not many people are doing it.
Correct. Yeah.
I have another one in mind, that is the relationship between the works of Shakespeare, the works of Shakespeare and our Arabic magnum opus. When we talk about Shakespeare, we always talk about Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet. But not many people are aware of the fact that Romeo and Juliet is basically based on our traditional Islamic work, which is
Majnun Lain.
Layla and Majnun.
We have many Majanin.
But if we can encourage scholars with the knowledge of Arabic to come forward and do that, would be good. But that will not stop me from doing my part. Because I am trained in comparative literature, and in comparative literature, obviously, it would be good if you have mastery of that language in the first place. But if you do not have mastery in that language, that doesn't stop you from trying your best also.
Inshallah.
So I will try my best, inshallah.
Inshallah. May Allah bless you, Dato' Sri. You are an inspiration.
Thank you very much.
You continue to inspire people like us, mashallah. And I hope that this has managed to inspire many others that have attended and is attending on YouTube and will be watching YouTube later on. So inshallah, barakallah fiqh, and With that, I would like to apologize for any shortcomings throughout me moderating this event, Datuk Sri, and all the participants. And inshallah, as I mentioned, every last Friday of the month, we have an event, but during Ramadan, we are not going to have any event. So inshallah, we hope to have your attending these kind of sessions, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you.
With that, we end with Tasbih Kafarah and Surah Al-Asr. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Wal asri innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus solihat wa tawassaw bil haqq wa tawassaw bis sabr.
Amin. Thank you very much.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum
Terima kasih banyak Datuk Sri.
Thank you very much.
Terima kasih banyak.
Thank you very much, Datuk Sri.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Prof. Munjid.
Shukran. Thank you.